What stopped you from committing suicide? My mom. I couldn't bear the thought of her learning about it. I simply existed for many years before something clicked and I began living again. Don't give up. There is always hope. Always. Anyone, any situation you think is stuck or permanent can and will change. Any wrong or grievous thing you think you've done, suicide will only increase the hurt, not resolve it. You can persist. Things can change. My mother's love for me. The thought of her having to bury me was unbearable. Realizing the person I love will likely be blamed falsely for it wouldn't be her fault for my decision, but that's not what people will see. The fear of people going through my things. My kids. Don't want them to know I was weak. My children. I promised my mum I wouldn't. Many moons ago now, didn't want the sound of the gunshot to wake my mom and my sister, only for them to have to get my grandfather's rifle out of my mouth and my brains out of the concrete wall behind me. GNU Terry Pratchett. That suicide hotline music slaps, fam. I thought about my future and the things that I want to stay alive for. Couldn't do that to my mother. I owed it to her to live. Literally just the fact my mum has always been depressed and lonely and I couldn't do that to her, and also that I didn't want my niece and nephew to have to deal with that and have an aunt that killed themselves, etc. Earlier in the day, I was texting my GF about how I was craving broccoli and cheese soup because I hadn't had it in years. Fast forward to later that day, something's happened with my parents, whom I lived with at the time, that has deeply traumatized me even until this day and made me feel like I couldn't go on living like that anymore. Planned to drive around to say goodbye to everyone closest to me, under the guise of just wanting to hang out and talk for a bit, and then drive southbound with the ocean side next to me until I got to a cliff high enough to drive straight off. Before I finished saying bye to my sisters, who also lived with my parents at the time, my GF showed up unexpectedly with a bowl of broccoli and cheese soup, saying she wanted to visit and hang out with me. I broke down. My brother. I had a plan for that night after I left to go home, and I had the opportunity to say goodbye to my whole family since they were all at my parents' house hanging out. I had said bye, hugged them all, and told them I loved them. That's common with my family. Next thing I know, he ran out the front door behind me and wrapped me in a huge hug. He didn't let go for a solid 5 minutes. I'm not sure if he knew or what was going on, but every time I think about it, it makes me want to cry. I didn't know he loved me that much. It made me realize I would actually be missed. Usually it's just the fear of doing it. I also feel like I don't want to miss out on meeting more people, cause recently I met someone I really value and who knows how many more people I will get to meet like that. My younger child needs me. That's 90% of it. Honestly, I don't know. My grandma killed herself. Severe depression runs on my mom's side of the family. Her brother committed when she was a junior in college, he was 19, and it destroyed her. I became so depressed in middle school and in early high school I had survived several attempts without my mom's knowledge, and then her mom killed herself. For nearly 2 years I was so depressed, but I could never bring myself to even consider putting my mom through that for the 3rd time, but now I am where I am, and I wish I could still feel that way. My nieces and nephews being born. Spite. One of my closest friends killed himself. It made me realize how much pain it would cause everyone if I were to do the same. My dog. I went through a period of severe depression and anxiety that got so bad I would have multiple anxiety/panic attacks a day. Now my dog, who previously had never liked being hugged, would let me hug him for hours at a time. He's my best friend and he saved my life. Also, to anyone who is struggling with mental health problems right now, trust me, it gets better. It may take some time, but it does. If anyone needs to talk, feel free to PM me. Googling how kids are affected by a parent's death by suicide. Pain. But also my youngest daughter not having me around to protect her. She's only 4'11". She needs her dad. No matter how much of a loser I feel some days. I decided to draw something that day. My kids. The slight action of the shotgun jammed, and it took me several minutes of trying to dislodge the shell for me to get it out. During that time I started to panic about how I would explain it if my parents came home and found me in that predicament. I was 13. That got me started thinking about them coming home and finding the contents of my skull on the ceiling. That was the first and only time I put myself in that situation. I told myself I would not do anything rash until I was well away from living with my parents. But the time I moved out, my life was much better and my teenage emotions were more controlled. I was in my room after school one day, about to do it. I was the first person home every day since I was in high school, and I was alone. The second I went to do it, I heard the front door open, and hear that my little sister was home. I then realized she would be the one to find me dead and dropped everything. Never would I ever put her through that. I didn't want to ever have my daughter wonder why I didn't want to see her grow up. Out of sheer spite mostly. I'm tired, but by God I'm not going to let the universe win. One of my friends saw an Andrew Tate video and started spam sending me the video just as I was about to take the leap of faith. But it was annoying to constantly hear my phone vibrate, so I went to try to text him that I'll watch it later, but by some way somehow he knew that I was suicidal and said that he'll pay me to watch the video, and so I did, cause free cash. The summary of the video was that if I killed myself I would not only give inconvenience to everyone in my life but disrespect and disregard their feelings, which I hadn't thought of till I saw the video. Till this day I still think of those words from the conversation and the video that my friend sent me, and I'm kinda grateful he came through at the right time. I mean, sure, I still feel suicidal, but I just think of what he said and sent me. That's my experience at least. Sorry for the clusterfuck of words, I just woke up. Where to start? My mother who's had 3 enough death in the family. My sister that needs a big sister to keep her safe and buy her strawberry milk. For Q, while it was my pervious best friend, now it's someone I love even more. I need to live not just for everyone I've made laugh, but everyone I still could make laugh. I need to be the comic relief in my D&D group. I haven't been to a convention yet. I still need to go to Q concert with one of my best friends in October. I promised my mother I wouldn't take that jump, and my best friend that we would keep each other safe till the end. I want to see what the new Minecraft updates are. I want to see my friends get married. I have to live for everyone I know that didn't make it, because I'll be damned if I miss the chance to save someone else. I want to die so badly, but I have so many reasons to live, and I'll be fucking damned if anything kills me before I become immortal. I guess you could call this my note of life, my message to the world that's let me spit in death's eye so many times that I am going to continue living until something more powerful than me gets me. And I am going to keep working on myself until God himself has to take me out. The first time I planned it, I got a letter from my boyfriend at the time, with a compilation tape. He told me that I had helped him to stop self-harming. I realized that not everyone would be better off with me dead. The second time, I was getting a bus to a patch of wasteland to do the deeding. The bus went past the house me and my then fiance's house that we were about to move into, and I realized that actually the future might be better. The only time I actually attempted it, I took 48 cocodamol and my then boyfriend arrived and was banging on the door. I was starting to feel a bit weird, and contemplated cutting my throat with a glass I had smashed, to speed things up. I knew in that moment that maybe I should listen to my fear of what was going to happen, and let him help before it was too late. I let him in, he called the ambulance while I threw up into the bath. I discovered that my choice of method would have resulted in a slow, painful death rather than passing out and going in my sleep. At some point after this, I realized that suicidal thoughts and feelings were a symptom of my illness, rather than a truth to be listened to. I still get the thoughts and urges sometimes, and sometimes it's really hard to keep that perspective, especially when overly tired. But I have no intention to attempt it again. My bunny. He's on his 3rd human. He's seen some stuff, and it took him a long time to trust me. I would never betray him, or do anything that would cause him mental or physical harm. He's my boy, and I always want to be by his side. I heard on the radio that dying was expensive and decided not to put my parents in debt. Going to the pound and adopting a dog who was afraid of men. I was 22 meters. She loved me instantly. I adopted her the same day and brought her home. Parents were not happy and kept trying to force me to return her. They didn't and still do not know why I got her. I fought and fought for weeks. Then my family fell in love with my dog too. That was 7 years ago. She is laying on my feet as I write this. Edit, my dog was so ragged and ugly from the streets, the pound said, "Are you serious? Why would anybody want her?" I told them, "Yes, I'm serious. She's perfect. She is so beautiful now with her full healthy coat that strangers comment on the streets how pretty she is. Ha ha." My life insurance policy. It wouldn't pay out for suicide for another 6 months. So, I had the date written down when I could go ahead and do it. I had tried twice unsuccessfully. I got my logical brain in gear and wanted my then husband and kids to not have to worry about debt. My rationale was they'd be better off without me, but they'd be even better off if they had no debt. I got help in the meantime, got better, and I'm still here 9 years later.